This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Foch and Pershing met at the First Army's headquarters on 30 August. It was a stormy confrontation, during which the two generals almost came to blows. Arguing that the fate of the 1918 campaign would be decided in the N region, Foch said that he now wanted to limit the Saint-Mihiel attack so that the Americans could then participate in the Meuse offensive, which would produce greater results. Foch said he therefore wanted to limit the Saint-Mihiel attack to the southern face of the salient only. Following that, an attack north toward Mézières would be made by two field armies, an American army under Pershing and a Franco-American army under French command. Pershing responded hotly by accusing Foch of wanting to reduce the Saint-Mihiel operation so that he could take away several American divisions, assign some to the French Second Army, and use others to form an American army to operate on the Aisne in conjunction with the French Fourth Army. The result would be that Pershing would have little to do except hold what would become a quiet sector after the Saint-Mihiel offensive. "Marshal Foch," Pershing said, "you have no authority, as Allied Commander-in-Chief, to call upon me to yield up my command of the American army and have it scattered among the Allied forces, or it will not be an American army at all." Pershing continued to insist that the Saint-Mihiel attack be made on both sides of the salient. Foch argued that there was too much of a risk, that the Americans would become too deeply committed in that sector, which would detract from their ability to execute the follow-on attack toward Mézières. Events would prove the validity of Foch's concerns. Pershing at one point offered to take over the entire sector of the French Second Army west of the Meuse, but Foch convinced him that his then available 16 divisions were not enough. Pershing finally dug in his heels. "Marshal Foch, you may insist all you please, but I will decline absolutely to agree to your plan. While our army will fight wherever you may decide, it will not fight except as an independent American army." The meeting ended with the two generals still at loggerheads. As he left, Foch handed Pershing a memo detailing his concept of the continuing operations and the role of the American forces in those operations. Foch asked Pershing to study it carefully and then let him know what he thought. The memo's key passages bear repeating here as an example of clarity in operational thought. It is significant, of course, that it evolved from an original recommendation by Haig. 1. The operations which, on the 24th July, it was decided to undertake in the course of the summer and autumn of 1918 were suitable to the situation at that time. Today, the favorable development of the first two of these operations has thrown the enemy well beyond the first objectives which were selected. The battle extends from Reims to the Scarpe on a front of 120 miles, and the enemy is retiring, giving manifest proof of his disorganization. It is of the greatest importance to exploit this favorable situation to the utmost, continuing and extending the battle to the Meuse and bringing into it all the Allied forces in one great convergent attack. For this purpose, 1. The British armies, supported by the left of the French armies, will continue attacking in general direction of Saint-Quentin-Cambrai. 2. The center of the French armies will continue vigorous action to throw the enemy beyond the Aisne. 3. The American army and the right of the French armies, operating on the Meuse and westward, will attack in the general direction of Mézières. And 3. To carry these attacks out, it is necessary first of all to make the necessary reduction in the original plan for the Saint-Mihiel operation, to settle on a new plan and carry it out, also to work out the resources which will be left available for other operations. When Pershing and Petain met on 31 August, Petain agreed that Foch had overstepped his authority in telling the AEF commander to attack the southern face of the Saint-Mihiel salient only. Foch's authority was strategic, not tactical. Petain encouraged Pershing to stick to his original plan for the larger attack. Petain and Pershing then discussed Foch's concept for deploying a large portion of the AEF astride the Aisne River, which the Marshal considered the decisive sector. Pershing had strong objections to that plan. As he pointed out to Petain, the heights on the west bank of that river dominated those of the east, while the valley's deep ravines and projecting ridges would be serious obstacles. Pershing's main objection, however, was that the plan would split the AEF with the French in between the two segments.